Julian Ashford stared at the cream-colored envelope in his hands, his name written in elegant calligraphy that screamed expensive taste. 5 years had passed since Verena Clark walked out of their modest apartment, her words still echoing in his memory. "I need more than love, Julian. I need security. I need someone who can actually provide." He'd been a struggling architect then, pouring his soul into designs that clients barely noticed. She'd been a social climber wrapped in designer knockoffs, always reaching for a life just beyond their grasp. When Damien Rothschild appeared, heir to a real estate empire, Julian became invisible. The invitation felt like mockery. "Mr. Damien Rothschild and Miss Verena Clark request the honor of your presence." Why would she invite him to her wedding? To prove she'd made the right choice? To see him broken? "You're actually considering going?" Alara Wynn's voice pulled him from his thoughts. She stood in the doorway of his penthouse office, her unique beauty striking as always, golden blonde waves cascading past her shoulders, delicate fox ears twitching with concern, her graceful cat-like tail swishing behind her. She was a hybrid, rare and extraordinary, with features that blended feline grace and vulpine charm. Her amber eyes held worry. "I need closure," Julian admitted. Alara crossed the room, her movements fluid. She'd met him 2 years ago when he was still rebuilding, working 16-hour days to establish his architectural firm. She'd been his assistant, then his partner, then something far more precious, his anchor. "You don't deserve even a second of her time," Alara said softly, her tail curling around her legs as she perched on his desk's edge. Her ears flattened slightly, betraying her protective instinct. Julian reached out, gently stroking one of her soft ears, feeling her relax under his touch. "Maybe that's exactly why I should go, to show her that her rejection was the best thing that ever happened to me." Alara's pupils dilated slightly, her hand finding his. "Then I'm coming with you." "Are you sure? It won't be comfortable." She smiled, revealing slightly pointed canines. "I've faced worse than jealous ex-wives. Besides, someone needs to remind you how far you've actually come." Julian pulled the invitation closer, decision crystallizing. He would attend, not for revenge, but to finally close a chapter that had remained painfully open. The week before the wedding moved with surreal momentum. Julian found himself in an exclusive tailor shop, being fitted for a suit that cost more than his entire wardrobe had 5 years ago. Alara sat nearby, her tail draped elegantly across the leather chair, watching with those penetrating amber eyes. "You've built something incredible, Julian," she said as the tailor adjusted his shoulders. "Your firm designed 3 landmark buildings this year. Verena walked away from potential. You became reality." That evening, in Julian's penthouse overlooking the city skyline, Alara helped him review the RSVP. The space was minimalist luxury, a far cry from the cramped apartment where Verena had pronounced him insufficient. "Do you ever wonder what she'll think when she sees you now?" Alara asked, moving closer. Her unique scent, something between wildflowers and warm vanilla, filled his senses. "I used to," Julian admitted, "but honestly, I stopped caring about her opinion the day I met you." Alara's ears perked forward, pleasure evident in her expression. She stepped into his space, her hands sliding up his chest. "Show me," she whispered. Julian's response was immediate. He captured her lips in a kiss that spoke of genuine desire, not performance. His hands found the small of her back, pulling her closer as her tail wrapped around his leg possessively. Unlike the calculated affection he'd shared with Verena, always measured, always conditional, this was raw and honest. Alara's fingers worked the buttons of his shirt as they moved toward the bedroom, her touches igniting fire across his skin. "I love you," she breathed between kisses. "Not your success, not your potential, you." Those words mattered more than any architectural award. In bed, their connection deepened, Ilara's unique physiology making their intimacy something magical. Her responsiveness, the way her ears flattened in pleasure, how her tail trembled when he touched her just right, everything about her was genuine. Later, as they lay tangled in silk sheets, Ilara's head resting on his chest, her ears twitching contentedly, Julian realized the truth. Verena's wedding wasn't about closure anymore. It was about gratitude, thanking fate for removing someone who never deserved him and replacing her with someone who did. "Whatever happens at that wedding," Ilara murmured sleepily, "remember you're already exactly where you're supposed to be." The Rothschild estate was obscene in its opulence. Marble fountains, crystal chandeliers, gardens that probably required a staff of 20. Julian arrived with Ilara on his arm, her beauty turning heads immediately. She wore a midnight blue gown that complemented her blonde waves, tailored specifically to accommodate her tail, which swayed with elegant confidence. Her fox ears were adorned with delicate diamond studs that caught the light. Whispers followed them through the crowd. Julian Ashford, once the rejected husband, now a rising architectural star, and his companion, the stunning hybrid whose exotic features made her unforgettable. Verena appeared across the ballroom, resplendent in white, Damien Rothschild possessively at her side. Their eyes met, and Julian watched surprise flash across her face. She'd expected broken Julian, defeated Julian, not this version in a perfectly tailored suit with a woman who outshone every guest present. "Julian!" Verena approached during cocktail hour, leaving Damien with business associates. Up close, Julian noticed the calculation in her eyes hadn't changed. "I wasn't sure you'd actually come." "Verena," he kept his tone neutral. "Congratulations." Her gaze shifted to Ilara, barely concealing assessment and something that looked disturbingly like envy. "And who is this?" "Ilara Wynne," she introduced herself smoothly, her tail curling protectively. "Julian's partner in business and life." Verena's smile tightened. "How lovely. Julian, I hope there are no hard feelings about, well, the past. I'm sure you understand I had to make practical choices." "Of course," Julian replied. "I should thank you, actually. You leaving forced me to become someone I never would have otherwise." That clearly wasn't the response Verena expected. "I heard about your firm's success. The Riverside Tower design was quite impressive." "Thank you. Ilara was instrumental in that project." He placed his hand on Ilara's waist, feeling her lean into him. "Turns out, having a partner who believes in you makes all the difference." Verena's composure cracked slightly. "Julian, I wonder if we could speak privately." "I don't think that's appropriate," Ilara interrupted gently, her ears flattening slightly in warning. "It's your wedding day, after all. You should be with your groom." As if summoned, Damien appeared, his expression possessive as he wrapped an arm around Verena. Julian recognized the gesture. Territorial, controlling, exactly what Verena thought she wanted. "Enjoy your evening," Julian said, guiding Ilara away, already feeling lighter.
The reception was well underway when Verena found Julian on the terrace, deliberately alone. Ilara was inside, charming a group of investors interested in Julian's upcoming projects, her natural charisma opening doors Julian hadn't even knocked on yet. "You brought her to humiliate me," Verena accused, champagne making her bold. Julian turned, genuinely confused. "I brought her because she's my partner. Everything isn't about you, Verena. Don't pretend you didn't plan this, showing up successful with some exotic creature on your arm." "Don't," Julian's voice turned cold, "don't reduce Ilara to her appearance. She's brilliant, compassionate, and genuine, qualities you wouldn't recognize." Verena's mask slipped entirely. "I made a mistake, Julian. Damien is controlling, obsessive. Everything is about his family's image, his reputation. There's no warmth, no real connection. I thought wealth would make me happy, but what?" Julian interrupted. "You want sympathy? You want me to say I told you so? I want you to remember what we had, she whispered, stepping closer. We could try again. You're successful now. Everything I needed you to be. Stop. Julian backed away, disgusted. You didn't love me, Verena. You loved the idea of what I might become. Ilara loved me when I had nothing, supported me through failures, celebrated small victories. That's the difference you'll never understand. She's not even fully human. Verena's desperation turned ugly. You're parading around with a genetic experiment. Julian's hand clenched. And there it is, your true nature. You judge worth by surface metrics, wealth, appearance, status. You'll never understand genuine connection. Ilara appeared in the doorway, her ears alert, clearly having heard everything. But instead of anger, her expression held pity. Julian, our car is ready whenever you are. He moved to her immediately, their connection visible in how naturally they fit together. We're leaving. As they walked away, Verena called out, You'll regret this. Damien is important, connected. Julian didn't turn back. The only thing I regret about you, Verena, is wasting years on someone who never deserved them. In the car, Ilara's tail wrapped around Julian's arm comfortingly. You handled that with more grace than she earned. Because I finally understand, her rejection was a gift.
6 months after the wedding, Julian's firm secured the Rothschild Tower redesign project, the crown jewel of Damien's real estate portfolio. The irony wasn't lost on anyone when Damien was forced to work with the man he'd cuckolded, watching Julian's genius transform his signature property. But Julian's true revenge wasn't professional triumph, it was the life he built with Ilara. Their penthouse became a home filled with laughter, late-night design sessions, and genuine partnership. Ilara's hybrid nature meant unique intimacy, her heightened senses attuned to Julian's every need, her responsiveness unmatched. Their physical connection deepened emotional bonds that Verena never understood existed. One evening, as they celebrated Julian's firm winning Architectural Digest's Rising Star Award, Ilara curled against him on their balcony, her tail wrapped contentedly around his waist. "Did you see Verena's face in those photos from the Rothschild project unveiling?" she murmured, her ears twitching with amusement. Julian had. Verena, standing beside Damien, looked polished but hollow. The society columns whispered about their separate bedrooms, his controlling behavior, her growing isolation in a gilded cage of wealth without warmth. "I actually felt sorry for her," Julian admitted, stroking Ilara's hair, gently scratching behind her ears the way she loved. "She got exactly what she thought she wanted and discovered it was empty." Ilara shifted, straddling his lap, her amber eyes intense. "And what did you discover?" "That love without conditions is worth more than any material success." He pulled her closer, feeling her purr-like rumble of contentment. "That being chosen by someone who sees your worst and stays anyway is the greatest gift." Their kiss deepened, hands exploring familiar territory that never grew old. Ilara's unique physiology made every touch electric, her tail trembling as Julian's hands mapped her spine, her ears flattening in pleasure as he whispered how much he loved her. Later, tangled in their bed, Ilara traced patterns on Julian's chest. "So the revenge is complete?" Julian shook his head. "There was never really revenge. Revenge implies she still mattered enough to hurt. The truth is simpler. I moved on. I built something real with someone extraordinary. Verena's punishment is watching from outside, realizing she traded authentic love for comfortable lies." "And Julian Ashford's reward?" Ilara prompted, smiling. He kissed her softly. "Waking up every day with you. That's not revenge, that's victory."